Morning News, Fox 2 News.
We continue to try to wrap our minds around the tragedy that happened yesterday in Oxford. It's hard to imagine what goes into investigating a horrific crime such as a school shooting, but there are experts who dedicate their lives to solving and preventing these types of cases.
Yeah, joining us this morning is expert criminologist and St. Thomas University professor, Dr. Debbie Goodman. Dr. Goodman, thank you for being with us today. You know, we never want to speculate anything, but when you see something tragic like this, when you have a 15-year-old suspected shooter, from what you've seen, what goes wrong in the mind to not have, consideration for human life, no fear of consequences?
Right. Well, first and foremost, good morning, Jay and Amy. Thank you for having me. It's a somber Wednesday, and kindly allow me to express my heartfelt and sincere condolences to Tate's family, to Hannah's family, to Madison's family. You know, it's victimization, it's victimology, it's every parent's worst nightmare. Aside from being a criminologist, I'm the proud mom of two boys. So one's in college, one's in high school. And as soon as I heard of this devastation, I immediately called them to inform them. They, of course, are very sad, but we need to be on high alert. I say we, school administrators, parents, students, when something of this horrendous magnitude occurs in a school setting, it's a ripple effect. It's a pebble dropped into the pond, and now it's far-reaching to all of us. So, Jay, to your question, how do we, wrap our heads around this? How do we start this process? Well, it's very much like an onion. There will be so many levels and layers of analysis. At the moment, we do know that there are 3 young people who sadly have perished in this tragedy. There are 8 others who have significant injury. We're looking at physical damage. We're looking at mental health damage. We're looking at safety and security. At the moment, as we have this conversation, what we know about our shooter is that he's a 15-year-old student attendee of Oxford High School, a sophomore. What we don't know, of course, yet is his motivation, and that's what we want to get to. Why did he do this? What prompted this? Allegedly, 4 days ago, the shooter's father purchased a handgun. A 9mm semi-automatic was the weapon used. There were 7 remaining rounds in this gun, which tells us as analysts that his intent may very well have been to discharge and deploy the remaining bullets. Thankfully, we need to also recognize and acknowledge the superior work of our men and women of local, state, and federal law enforcement who did everything right, as well as the school administrators. My briefing this morning is that this high school was extremely well prepared and took the necessary protocols and precautions to maintain a level of safety and security for those students who knew to barricade themselves, the teachers who were obviously in charge, maintaining their calm, their professionalism to ensure the safety and security of all. Also, commendation to some of these students who heard a knock and a voice at their classroom door, allegedly the shooter saying that he was a law enforcement representative, but the students maintained their posture and position, having barricaded the doors, having mindfulness to wait things out for credibility and reliability. And allegedly, the shooter also used the terminology bro. And so the students were so smart to where they recognized that would not have necessarily been a term that a local, state, or federal law enforcement representative would have used.
Dr. Goodman, I have to ask you straight up, we can send men and women into space. Why can we not stop school shootings from happening?
Right, Amy. Excellent question. So again, I can assure you that schools around the country, K through 12, colleges and universities, have policies, have protocol in place. Also, school resource officers for whom we have utmost respect. They are the primary first line individual or individuals who would react and respond. But again, there are a lot of areas and levels and layers to this onion here of a case of this magnitude that we need to look at. All eyes, all ears need to react and respond. That means school administrators preparing students to have these parent-teacher meetings so that parents are fully aware. To see something, say something. There are methods in place, potentially. Do we or do we not want to have metal detectors in schools? I know that's controversial, but we take a look at that. There's mental health aspects too. We're not pointing to that as the end-all be-all, but once we know who this 15-year-old is, we need to dissect him and understand what's going on in his mind. For me as a criminologist, Amy and Jay, the fact that there was an alleged purchase of a family weapon and 4 days later, this young man decides to take a 9mm high-powered weapon to his own school to perpetrate this act of terror, and let's call it that. This is an act of terror. When we have a shooting on a K-12 college or university setting, this hits home in every family, in every parent, student, school administrator, teacher. This is not supposed to happen. Students are to go to school. The reasonable expectation of learning and analyzing and studying is what's supposed to happen. And when that doesn't happen, and when children don't come home from a school setting because a fellow classmate has perpetrated this act of terror, it's unconscionable, and we need to figure it out.
Dr. Goodman, we certainly appreciate your insight this morning. We do appreciate it. We continue to follow the story, and we thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jay and Amy.